So good day, good morning. Hi everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Refu Shlema for what is it? Avram Ephraim Avram ben Rivka, Yaini's father. He wrote to us that he's not well, not in good shape. You should have Refu Shlema. Take it from Miyad immediately. So we're in the middle of a concept that's mentioned quite often in Hasidus and relevant to many other ideas, not only in Chabad Hasidus, but in Hasidus in general. So it's worthwhile going slow and articulating and discussing. And, if something is not clear or you have a question, please ask. This isn't, a one-man show. This is an interactive. I'm serious.
That being said, I wanted to just mention that this whole idea of the Zohar, and the Baal Shem Tov in Parshas Noach, the Sefer Baal Shem Tov has a section called Amuda Tefillah in Parshas Noach. And there's a Rebbe, I've been learning through a Sefer from the Kamarna Rebbe of Beit Shemesh, that he wrote a beautiful Perush called Or Shivas Hayamim on that section of the Sefer Baal Shem Tov. So very much echoing these ideas. I just wanted to mention to other people that it's out there. It's kind of new.
Thank you. I knew nothing about it. Thank you very much. So this Kamarna Rebbe lives in Beit Shemesh?
Yeah, he's a really outstanding fellow.
How old of a man is he?
Well, let's see. He's got a long white beard. Does that help? I think he's older than me. Does that help?
Okay.
I don't know, probably in the 70s, something like that would be my guess. I didn't ask.
Right.
But
okay, so let's get down.
I just want to say the first time I met him, I was expecting to discuss Hasidus, and he when he heard that my father had been a concert violinist, he was that's what he wanted to talk about, and he concluded that he might have seen my father perform in like 1962.
Wow. Where in Eretz Yisrael? Here in
Israel. Here in Eretz Israel. Mm-hmm. My father in the early '60s was kind of premiering a new very difficult violin concerto with orchestras, and that was sort of his signature work at that time.
Uh-huh.
So he remembered when that was introduced, and he in Israel, and he thought he was there. So,
right.
Fascinating for me.
So, it reminds me, just yesterday I inserted a picture that I wanted to use for a certain section of an upcoming book. And I remembered that I had it, but it was Rabbi Mendel Weinbach, who was the founder, I think, of Esha Torah, or one of the founders of Or Sameach. Rabbi Mendel Weinbach was a big Talmud Chacham.
I remember the name.
Yeah. So it said there that in 1953, when Rabbi Simcha Wasserman, he was the son of Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, Hashem Yinkum Domov, who...
Was Simcha Wasserman in Los Angeles?
Yes. And so Simcha Wasserman came to Los Angeles, I think, in the late 40s, and in 1953 he opened his yeshiva, but he opened it in one way, and it didn't work, and then he changed it another way, and then he had the yeshiva into the early 80s, and then he gave over the yeshiva to Chabad. I learned in that yeshiva called Or Elchanan Chabad.
Okay.
He literally gave it away as a donation. He didn't make, and he just it's not a joke. It was on Kings Road, I just give you the history, you know, and believe me, it was worth a lot of money, even in those days. And he made a condition with Rabbi Reichik and Rabbi Kuna, the Chabad representative, as long as you keep at least his father's name on the yeshiva is Chabad's. And they agreed. And they called it Or Elchanan. His father's name was Rabbi Elchanan Chabad. In English, it's YOEC, Yeshiva Or Elchanan Chabad. That's the name of the yeshiva till today. This was in 1978, 77, 78. And the Rebbe, I remember I was here in Borough Park. It was a very cold night. I didn't go to 770. I heard if I bring it on like a hookup. And the Rebbe Chav Dalet Tevis, it was out the Rebbe's yahrzeit, and the Rebbe spoke about the unity of Hasidim and Litvaks through this yeshiva. Because now the name carries Rebbe Elchanan, who was a Litvish Yid, not a Chassid, and Chabad, and it's in one name. I remember that was a very famous Sikha, and that's when the yeshiva started in 78. So this Reb Simcha, but the yeshiva started in 53. So when it started in 53, he needed Bacharim. You know, you want to get a yeshiva off the ground, you need some real Bacharim. So Torah Vadas in Brooklyn was kind enough, and because they got it from Reb Shraga Feivel Mendelovich, who was like the main person of the yeshiva for years, till he passed away in 1948. So his philosophy was, don't hoard your treasures. You have good Bacharim, you have good Rebbes, spread them out. He was mamish legitimate. You know, I don't want to, I know a lot of these players and a lot of these Rosh Hashivas, and everyone is like, my Bachar and my student and my Rebbe, and I'll pay him more. I mean, okay? And there's a philosophy behind it. I don't want to go into it. I'm not saying right, wrong, but that's the way it is. Reb Shraga Feivel was very different. He said, if I can help, I'll help. So Torah Vadas sent 10 to 12 Bacharim to Los Angeles to help start the yeshiva for Reb Simcha Wasserman. One of the Bacharim was Reb Mendel Weinbach. So, since I'm writing about Baal Tshuva yeshivas and Baal Tshuva personality and teachers of Baal Tshuva over primarily the 20th century to the 21st century, so I want to give him, a place. So I did that. But I thought this picture would be nice. I have a picture. It's very, very unique from 53. And you see Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, the Rosh Yeshiva of the Philadelphia Yeshiva, sitting right next to him because he came to be the Mashgiach. Reb Simcha was the Rosh Yeshiva, and Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky, the Mashgiach, for the Bacharim. And it's a one of a kind picture. Most people never saw this picture. It took me a long time to get a hold of the picture. Anyway, so where is Mendel Weinbach? I don't know. I don't know. So I'm putting it in, and I'm letting the readers figure out, is there anyone left today? They must be 80, 85 to 90 the people, if anyone's left, maybe. I'm just saying, you just said earlier about, sometimes there's something, you do, you don't know exactly who, what. It just reminded me of that. But let's get back to the text.
How did it come about that he donated the yeshiva to Chabad?
He was making aliyah. He decided he's going to Eretz Yisrael. Why, when, where? I don't know those details. I think Yaakov, didn't he open? He opened the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. He opened the yeshiva. I think I don't know the name of the yeshiva. I'm almost sure.
That sounds familiar.
I think he opened the yeshiva, but he was leaving. And. It was. You have to understand, it was never a very big yeshiva, and nothing. He was an older man. He's going to Eretz Yisrael, and Chabad is all over and rising and strong and young, and he was an emes mensch. He saw that if he gives it to them, they'll do something with it. And I could tell you, and you know what they did? I forgot to say. Rabbi Kunin had the building moved on trailers, and I was there. It was amazing. They moved an entire building from Kings Road to Formosa. It's like 15 minutes, by, 10 minutes by car, and they moved it, and then they put the building together so it saved them a lot of money in construction.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yes, Yaakov, what? Take your... Yaakov, we don't hear you. Now.
I wanted to emphasize about Rishagar Feivel that it's documented that to his detriment he sent Bachrim to Lakewood and to Ner Yisrael. They were the nucleus, the Bachrim that he sent were the nucleus to start Lakewood and Ner Yisrael.
Correct.
For those who Shiva.
Correct.
And others.
Correct. Richtig. And I think even, maybe even tells, whatever. He was a person that he gave. And that's a great schus.
Very special Muskanda.
Very special. Very absolutely. Okay. So before we start the learning the next Pedic, I just want to review what we learned. And basically, the Rebbe is now going to talk about, he spoke about the idea of oisiyos, letters of the Torah, and how through their combination, they create an idea, a concept, and an energy. So he gave us, Moshe, a very simple example. Take the word tzadik reish hey, or hey tzadik reish. It's all the same letters. But if you write it one way, it means tzara, problem. You write it another way, it means window, right? So the Rebbe said that these are what we call the primary letters. When you combine them in various ways, you get definitions and ideas, which is the secondary aspect of the letters. This is the concept that he says, and he ended the paragraph yesterday with a beautiful idea to think about. And Hillel said it's brought, of course, from the Baal Shem Tov and there's forum about it. Bo'el HaTeva, Hashem says to Noach, go into the Teva. Come to the Teva. The Teva, the Baal Shem Tov says, refers to Tevos. Tevos HaTorah v'Tfilah, the words of Torah and Tfilah. Get involved in the words of davening. There's so much with daven. If you just take a line and immerse yourself and stop and think about it, get in. And the same is true with Torah. The Rebbe says that brings about chayis, life, vitality, enthusiasm, energy, excitement. It's not just lip service and just not, Ashrei Yishrei Secha, you could say your pajamas and half asleep. No. It's chayis. Ashrei Yishrei V'Secha. Fortunate is the one who sits in the house of Hashem. And you think about yourself, how fortunate it is that you're able to go to a shul. Just a year ago, we were locked out in our homes and in parks, and now we're able to be in a shul. Ashrei. How many of us take the time to think about this just being beisecha in your home, right? So the Rebbe says, when you think and you immerse yourself in the oisiyos, the letters, the words of tefillah and Torah, it brings chayis, it brings energy. And when it brings energy, you shine. And you shine not only for yourself, but you shine for all others. You become like a window. Soyar tase la teva. Make a window in the teva. Why should you make a window? Because if the purpose is just to inspire yourself, it's not enough. But by inspiring yourself, you inspire others. And it's so true. People gravitate to people that are inspirational. And you don't have to, do something out of the ordinary. Just be inspired, and people will gravitate to you like flies gravitating to honey. Okay? So this concept that Rebbe said as an example, We're not learning about the Teva, not learning Noach. The Rebbe gave us an example how from 3 letters we have 3 concepts and they all come together. And the same is true for all other words in the Torah, and davening. It's a matter of finding the idea. And in the next chapter, which we're beginning now, chapter Gimel, you'll see another example with another thought that's important. So let's begin. We're on page 195, Ois Gimel, chapter 3. To further elucidate this idea, in all words, based on their combinations, so shall be, will be the concept, the intellectual concept, and the inner meaning, literally that fills them, that pervades them, and that encompasses them. Let me give the example that the Rebbe gives, and let's maybe we'll go back. Take the letters of the word, the letters of Aleph Beis, father. It has its literal meaning in its comprehensible way, a father. But it also has b'mashu chutz mimenu. It has a meaning that's greater than itself. He says the word chutz mimenu, outside of itself. Umesuviv mi'itai, and that surrounds it, encompasses it. In other words, father is a father. Who father, when father, where father, those are all michutz, outside of father. V'chein, another example. The Tevis Bo, if you reverse Aleph, yes.
We might say the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
The larger meaning.
The larger meaning. Okay, fine. V'chein b'Tevis Bo, take the letters, not Aleph Beis, meaning spelling Av, but Beis Aleph, the same letters meaning boy, come. The Hamasuvav Mimenu, the larger meaning, who Meyayin Bo, from where do you come? And Ulion Bo, and where are you coming to? So again, come. Okay. Where are you coming from? Where are you going to? V'chein hu b'chol ha'tevis. Rebbe says the same is true for all words. Sheyesh lehem mashem amala oisam. Get accustomed with these words. They have the meaning, what pervades them, meaning the literal meaning. And number 2, umasha soivev oisam, what encompasses them, as Hillel says, the larger meaning, the greater meaning, the implication which comes about from the literal meaning. And because this is so, ha'oisiyos, in Kabbalah, all over in Kabbalah, oisiyos, words are called nikroim kelim, vessels. And he explains, Shem shah kelim hare mikablim b'teichem as anosim behem. Just as kelim, vessels, receive within them what is given to them. V'yeshnam kelim mikablim meichel. There are vessels, kelim, that receive food. V'yeshnam kelim, and there are kelim mikablim mashke, they receive within themselves liquid. So also regarding words, harehei mikabel, there's one aspect to the kelim that they receive as ha'oyer seichel, the intellectual light, the shabahem. Words are a receptacle for an intellectual concept, for a concept. And based on how the oisiyos, the word letters, are combined, so shall be that word. So if you have Beis Aleph, it's Bo, come. If you have Aleph Beis, it's father. So in other words, the letters, depending on how they're combined, become the particular vessel. They're all vessels. But what type of vessel they are depends on the tzirufim. Okay? What he's doing here is beautiful. He's taking a concept that's very Kabbalistic and he's really stripping it down, making it so accessible to the human brain. Chabad Hasidus does this. It takes abstract thoughts and dresses them up. Someone once said, what's the difference between Kabbalah and Hasidus? Kabbalah is undressing God, and Hasidus is dressing him up. Right? Let's say it says in the Torah, the right hand of God, so we say the right is Chesed. I'm talking about a hand. Kabbalah undresses the hand. In other words, it says, look at the abstract. It doesn't mean a hand, it means Chesed. That's undressing. That's elevating. And Chassidus says, that's true. But we have to take that very concept and dress it up so that we living here should understand it and feel it and do something with it. So Chassidus takes the concept of the abstract concept and makes it accessible, practical. So really... One second. So really, Kabbalah and Chassidus are two different streets, two different ways. You understand?
One of the ways I think about this distinction is that learning Kabbalah is like learning math. You know, it's very it seems very numerically based and very algorithm or formulaic in that sense. Whereas Hasidus is much more narrative. It's much more images and stories and things that seems to relate to a different part of my brain.
I hear you, but I can't say that I agree entirely because there's plenty of places in Kabbalah that it's not gematria and not the what I call the pipelines. Which pipe goes to which pipe? A to A, B to B. There's lots of that there, but I believe it's much greater than that in the sense of it's an abstract approach to God. It's dwelling in the abstract. Part of which is numbers and hints and charts and things like that. Okay, but again,
maybe I ought to say math and engineering.
Yeah, right. Let's go back to the text. The Rebbe says this is comparable to the blueprints for a house. Biorka in its length, rochba its width, v'govhoi, and its height. Shehu lefi misper ho'avonim v'sidron. It depends on how many bricks you have and sidra, Moshe, and organizing them. Okay? You understand? They can put down so many bricks in front of your house, in front of your shul. And if you don't organize them in a certain way, you ain't having a shul. You're having a barn, if that's what they do with the bricks. Although it's the same amount of bricks. But depending on how you organize, sidram, the arrangement of the bricks, so will be the bias, the building that is built. So in other words, the blueprints of how how tall that the building is, how wide it is, how deep it is, depends on the blueprints. And it's interesting, I told you yesterday about the Rebbe, remember, and Moshe sent out that clip, which I encourage you all to watch. The Rebbe was a supervisor to make sure that the blueprint, what the blueprints call for as far as the electrical parts of the ships be correct. He checked it. He checked it because if not, you can have a fire and destruction and problems. So it's the blueprints that determine what the building will be like, right? So he says. So why does he say this dugma? Why does he use Avi, this example, this dugma? Because the blueprints is similar to the letters of the words. Is it Av or Ba? If it's Av, it has one meaning. If it's Ba, it has another meaning. And also, not only is that true, but Av has a meaning also. What father, which father, when father, there's the greater meaning to Av. All that's part of the blueprints. That's why he brings this dugma, this example. Hine, it says in Kabbalah that the way Hashem creates the world of creation, the world of formation, and the world of action, who mishviras hakelim detayu. It's from the shattering of the vessels of the world of void. Briefly, I told you this yesterday, but again, when Hashem's energy filled the world, it was too overpowering, so he made a tzimtzum. Vis-a-vis the tzimtzum, the energy that was in receptacles shattered. It shattered and it broke into parts. Shviras hakelim, that's Olam Ma Tovu. The tzimtzum is Olam Ma Tikun. Before the tzimtzum, there was the Shviras hakelim of Tovu. Tovu means chaos and void. Because if you pour too much liquid into a cup and it overflows. Or if it's too hot, it might shatter the glass or the vessel. Well, in this case, it was too chaotic and it caused chaos. Kabbalah says, Yaakov, what nispardu, from the word pirut, what separated, what shattered and separated the oisiyos, the letters of Toyu. Again, oisiyos is synonymous to the kalim. Okay? So don't get frazzled by the word ha'oisiyos to Toyu. What do you mean the letters of Toyu? The kalim, the vessels of Toyu. That's why we just learned all above that oisiyos are kalim. So the vessels of Toyu couldn't handle the energy, or in simple English, it had a nervous breakdown. That's what happened.
A cosmic nervous breakdown.
A cosmic nervous breakdown. It was too much air. Yeah. You know, we laugh at it, but I know, and probably you guys also know, I know someone who was learning in the Kloisenberg, they have a Kloisenberg Rebbe, Rebbe Kusil, Halberstab, Tzadik Levracha. He made a program called Mifal Hashas to study the Shas, either in 3 years, 2 years, I forget the details. And he paid the students money to learn Shas and to know it Shak Levitarya by heart. Now that's a very big job. And I know a student who had like a genius mind, photographic memory, and Nebuch, he had a shvira. He didn't sleep much, he didn't eat much, and he had a breakdown. So, there's all kinds of breakdowns. And the Rebbe says here that in a way, the cosmic nervous breakdown, as Hillel put it, that's the beginning of all breakdowns. And we call that Toyu. It's not normal. It's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants, the Rebbe once said by a Farbrengen in 1983, Oros the Toyu, the lights, the energy of Toyu, bekalim the tikkun. You hear that? In the vessels of tikkun. Yeah, we want you to be passionate. We want you to be driven. But it has to go through the channels of tikkun. If you go through the channels of Toyu, the energy of Toyu is going to shatter the receptacles of Toyu. They can't handle it. Okay. By the way, Hillel, this concept, I believe, could be developed into today's psychology and social work. Because there are people that, I'm saying this is something that could be used. Anyway, Shehem ha'oisio used to tell you. Yes.
I'm sorry. I need a chazar on it. It sounds intriguing. I need to hear it again, please.
With the whole concept of Shviras HaKelim?
No, this point you just made from the Rebbe. From the Sikha.
Oh. You're picking up on good things, Yaakov. You smell. They say a saying by Hasidim. Hasidim have a good chush hareach, a good sense of smell. So I see the Yaakov that you're a deep Hasid. You have a good chush hareach. I just mentioned passing the Sikha, and he cornered me on it. What happened is, in 1983, Rabbi Shlomo Kunin of Los Angeles, the head of the Chabad, he was in big debt. And his debt was because Chabad from 67, 66 when he came, till then, would give out free tefillin, not charge tuition. It was the hippie days, post-hippies, and even today the membership is not the ikar. But I'm just saying it was really, and Kunin, he did so many things for Yiddishkeit, and he didn't worry about the money. He went to raise the money, and he raised a lot of money, but he gave, and it came all crashing down. It came all crashing down, and he was $17 million in debt. A lot of money. He was in New York, and the Rebbe at the Fabrengen, I believe it was Yud Gimel Tishrei, the Rebbe Marash's yard site, the fourth Rebbe of Shmuel, made a Fabrengen, which was like an Erev Sukkos Fabrengen, and suddenly he spoke about that the Rebbe Marash has the famous slogan Lechatchila Ariber, which in English we say means over the top. Just go for it. Don't try this and try that, and if you don't succeed, you go to the right, to the left. To begin with, jump over Lechatchila Ariber, over the top. So the Rebbe said, although this is a true teaching and an important teaching in life, in chinuch, in family, in Torah, in everything, nevertheless, it doesn't mean in a way of toyu, in a way of chaos. Because if it's done in a way of chaos, it brings chaos and it shatters. And that's what happened in Toyu. Yes, what?
Which is a pretty good description of the 60s.
Yes. Well, Rabbi Kunin is a 60s product. I mean, he was a Lubavitcher.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But his whole mindset was, 60s. That's when he was sent on Shlichus in 1966 to 69, bringing in the hippies into the Hungarian schools in Los Angeles. They wanted to shoot him. And they said, get out of here. And you should know, it's a story within a story. He had a lot of problems, and Rabbi Reichik, his superior, who was there from 49 for the Frierdiker Rebbe, he related. The Hungarians related to him. They looked at him as like a tzaddik, Rabbi Reichik, and they came complaining to him. And he told Rabbi Kunin, I understand what you're doing, but these are Hungarian Jews. They don't understand ponytails, and smell and torn pants. They don't understand this. So you're coming into a shul Shabbos like that. You can't bring him here. And the Rebbe basically told him he has to listen to Rabbi Reichik, and that's when he went and opened up in 1969 the Chabad house at UCLA. First he was in Fairfax. First he was amongst the Hungarians, but right. He couldn't move. Anyway, so this Rabbi, yes,
Rabbi,
what?
You're teaching Toyu as chaos. Toyu, as far as I recall, is emptiness. Do we say because emptiness is hefker, that's chaos?
I tell you, means void. No?
Empty.
Emptiness, okay. Yeah, but emptiness in the sense of, why is it empty? Because it's wild, it broke, it can't receive, it can't fill, it can't be normal.
And the things within it have a chaotic relationship to each other.
Correct. Very good. Correct. Yeah. So love and fear are opposing each other because they can't balance. They can't be normal. Anyway, so I want to finish this. So Kunin, Kunin, as a 60s, product in a way, continued that mode, and it was Ufa and it all came crashing down. The 80s were no longer the 60s and 70s. We're going into a different phase. And so he was at the Farbrengen, and the Rebbe said this Nakuda. Yes, over the top, but in the vessels of Tikkun. The Rebbe's language was Oros the Toyu, the energy, the passion of Toyu, be Kalim, in the vessels of Tikkun. In other words, it has to go through a normal receptacle. So you shouldn't be dull, and you shouldn't be a dud, and you should be excited. But within excitement, you shouldn't be hurting people. This is very important. I'm glad you brought it up. There are people in the name of excitement and enthusiasm and shita and all of that, they hurt people. But I'm doing it for the cause. You're doing it for the cause, but you're doing it in a chaotic way, in a wild way that people can't handle. So that's no good. And if this is not an easy thing, to be able to really have the energy of Toyu filtered through the kalim of Tikkun is an art. And not many people succeed at this art, you should know. It's an art. The bottom line is, the Rebbe spoke about that idea, Yaakov, at the Farbrengen, and within a short while later, Hermine Weinberg, the owner of the Kahlua, whatever, Hawaii hotel, the Hilton, her and her husband divorced. She was sick in the hospital. Jerry Weintraub, Olav Sholem, told Kunin to go visit her. He went to visit her, and shortly thereafter she died, and she inherited $120 million of his. She gave 40 to Chabad, 40 to the Heart Association, and 40 to another organization. Jerry, her husband, contested it, and a few years later, with the Rebbe's agreement, Rabbi Kunin, they made a settlement of $21 million. Rabbi Kunin then went around with Yoel Edelson, his accountant, who told me this himself, in a car with a book. And every person who he owed money to, from $1 to $1 million or more, he gave them a check. Went around Los Angeles, and he paid everyone the $70 million. He had about $4 million left. He bought what's called today the Beis Chaya Mushka School on Pico Boulevard. He gave $1 million to the yeshiva, to the Oros Chanan, and then he had a little left. And then a year later, again he was in trouble. And he says, you should know, I just heard this the other day. He says, this time the Rebbe didn't bail me out. And there's a very important lesson, One time, Kunin, I'm going to save your skin. But now, you're a big boy. Don't do it again, because if you're doing it again, you're on your own. The Rebbe didn't say that, of course, but Kunin took it that way, because he again went into debt, and this time he lost a lot of properties and whatever. But Yaakov, going back to your question, is it now clear, the idea of Oros the Kalim B'Toyu the Tikkun, or still not?
I hear it better. Yes. Okay.
I want you should read up that Sikha. Find it online. Tufshin Mem Gimel, Yud Gimel Tishrei. Go to Chabad.org. They have a site where they have the Rebbe's Sikhas. It was during the week. You'll be able to hear the actual Sikha the Rebbe speaking, and if you understand Yiddish, you'll be able to understand. Uh-huh. Yes, Moshe. Yes.
Rabbi David, I got to tell you a little. Quip that my wife told me.
Okay.
Apparently, there was some leftist politician in Israel who proposed some kind of legislation against Chabad proselytizing or putting on tefillin or something in the airport.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
yeah, not only Chabad. Yeah.
Okay, but
we're implicated too.
Yeah. My wife said that some Chabad spokesperson said, they threatened him with prison, and she said, And the person said, she obviously doesn't know about Chabad. What, if they put us in prison, what do? We'll get out, we'll make a fabring, and we won't say Tachanun.
And we'll make a holiday out of it.
It'll go and be a new Yom Tov.
Very good. Moshe, you wanted to say something. Moshe?
I just want to say it's interesting what we're learning, because in Safras, when he learns Safras, so there's a very famous quote from Gemara in Eruvin that discusses the importance of the sofer being very, very careful with his work so that he doesn't add or miss letters. Because the Gemara says that, the quote in the Gemara says that if he does, he could destroy worlds. In other words, each letter is critical, that it's the proper letter, not an added letter, not a missing letter. So
right. I understand. Right, the connection to what we're learning. Thank you. As usual, in the good way, you take it and make it practical, Moshe. No, I'm serious. We need that. Theoretical ideas are very nice, but taparu da placho, the Rebbe would say, it's Russian for meaning the axe to the wood. Taparu da placho. Chop the wood. Stop philosophizing. Guys, we'll learn more tomorrow. We went off a little bit, but it was important.
Yeah.
Sei gesund, everyone. Take care. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye-bye.